Run this tonight too.
How are you? Bob Gable. Nice to meet you. Quick before I get started here. Bob Gable, nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you, Andrew Watson. Thank you very much.
Bob Gable, nice to meet you.
Joe Kraft.
We'll be chatting with you here in just a second. Come back up to the podium. I'm Bob Gable. I just want to introduce myself before I speak here. Okay, thank you. That's fine. Thank you very much, sir. Is that all right?
You ready?
You ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get ready to start here. Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Jerome Township Board of Trustees, July 7th, 2026. The time is 7 o'clock. Roll call, please. Mr. Kraft.
Present.
Mr. Adler. Present. Ms. Watson.
Present.
Let's all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes for the agenda? No? I move we approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Roll call, please. Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Adler? Yes. Ms. Watson?
Yes.
On the agenda, we've moved up to have a guest speaker speak towards the beginning of the meeting here, and I'd like to welcome Bob Gable from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, if you would come up. And the topic is an overview of the integrated prioritization system and Big Darby Creek Conservation.
No problem. Thank you, sir. Let's see. Is there a microphone here?
You're right here.
Oh, there we go. All right. Good deal.
Can everybody hear back there?
So I feel like I should turn around and face the audience, but if we're good here. So thank you. My name is Bob Gable. I'm the Assistant Chief of the Division of Natural Preserves, as well as the Scenic River Program Manager within the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. I've been doing this work with the Scenic Rivers Program, Scenic River Conservation for 35 years, my entire career with the Department of Natural Resources. Had the opportunity to work on conservation of some of the highest quality streams across the state of Ohio, which Big and Little Darby are two of the best of the best. That's why they're designated wild state and national wild scenic rivers. Grew up in West Jefferson, so not too far from here, Madison County, and spent a lot of time on Big and Little Darby when I was young, and so that really influenced the course of my entire life and obviously in my career. So what I want to talk about this evening is our integrated prioritization system analysis, which we'll get into what that is. It's not a very good name. We didn't think of it up. It's our consultant's name, but basically it's a pretty in-depth analysis of the Darby Creek watershed that tells us something about its current status, its health, and what we might need to do to protect it in the future from urban expansion, which is currently the greatest threat in the watershed. So, got a couple of colleagues here with me this evening. Heather Doherty is our Central Ohio Regional Scenic River Manager, and Mike McNutt is our Darby Watershed Project Coordinator who's working specifically on this project we're going to talk about here this evening. He's going to get up and give half the presentation, so I'll turn it over to him here in just a little bit. So as I mentioned, Big and Little Darby Creek are both designated state and national scenic rivers. We've got 17 state scenic rivers across the state. Here's a map. You can see how they're distributed, about 970 miles. The idea behind the program is to identify and protect some of the highest quality streams remaining in the state of Ohio. So as I mentioned, Big and Little Darby are two of the best on that map. So they're really literally two of the best, because these are all outstanding stream resources across the state of Ohio. A little bit the statistics about the Big Darby watershed in and of itself. You can see the land use is still predominantly agriculture. We feel that that is advantageous. If you think about the history of the Darby, it has evolved to be the outstanding stream resource that it is, with the predominantly agricultural land use within the watershed. So, for decades we had rare and endangered fish species in the lower section of Big Darby down in Pickaway County that were found nowhere else in the state. They've since expanded their range because other streams, the water quality has improved. But for decades, that's the only place they were found, and throughout all that history, the Darby was predominantly agricultural land use watershed. So anecdotally, that says something for the agricultural land use. Here's some of the concerns in Big and Little Darby. The biological diversity is outstanding. 100 species of fish, 5 of which stayed endangered. Spotted darter there in the bottom left-hand corner is one of them. The mussels is another outstanding biological group within Big and Little Darby. 45 species, including 5 federally endangered and 3 federally threatened. So one species, the clubshell mussel, the last remaining viable population in the state of Ohio, was found in Little Darby Creek out in the upper reaches towards the village of Plumwood. Okay, you know where that's at. Some of the other designations that have been given to Big and Little Darby. A couple things we'll talk about in more detail here as we go along. The exceptional warm water habitat and the outstanding state resource water, which are Ohio EPA classifications. Basically, the exceptional warm water habitat is based on aquatic life use or the biological community and the water quality that exists in the stream. If you have an outstanding biological community and outstanding water quality, then you get put in this exceptional warm water habitat aquatic life use designation. That's the highest tier that you can have for an aquatic life use. Same thing with the outstanding state resource water. That's what we call an anti-degradation tier. Again, if you have this outstanding stream resource, exceptional water quality, high biological diversity, the river will get put into that anti-deg tier to further protect it. And anti-deg tiers address the discharge of pollutants to the waters of the state. This is the main threat that we're concerned about: urban expansion. I'm sure you're all aware, urban areas, Columbus, Dublin, some of the other larger communities, Marysville, are expanding. Even we've seen growth in Plain City, West Jefferson as well. The main driver there is increased impervious surface, things such as asphalt, rooftops that do not. So if all this water is not recharging or soaking into the ground, we get this accelerated rate of runoff from the impervious surfaces. All this runoff is collected in these things like curb inlets and the storm sewer system, goes down the storm sewer drain, and that increased flow going into the streams results in flash flooding and hydrological changes to the stream channel and channel stability itself. And we also get increased non-point source pollutant loading, which is the pollutants that come off of surfaces of the parking lot. There's a lot more on the surface of the parking lot than what you may realize. Hydrocarbons from vehicles, material from brake linings, and leaks from vehicles, all sorts of things. I like to tell people, if you think about like wintertime, when they plow the parking lots, got that big old pile of snow with all that stuff in it, well, that's what's coming off the parking lot. So it just gives you an idea of some of the material that's on there. This is an little urban stream. This is kind of severely impacted. We can see a lot of impacts here, just as an example. The forest buffer along the stream has been removed. Channel is down cutting and eroding, which is due to the flash flooding I mentioned. You can see the increased erosion there has prompted somebody to dump some chunks of concrete over the bank to try to limit the bank erosion and that channel migration. Okay, so what we did with the integrated prioritization study is we hired a consulting firm, Midwest Biodiversity Institute, MBI, and they took all these dots. These are all data sets, and this is biological data, water quality data, including fish, bugs, freshwater mussels, water chemistry, stream habitat, and land use. And there's 45 years of data in here, over 2,600 sampling locations, huge data set. Put all this data into the analysis, and what it allowed us to do is determine what we call stressor thresholds or pollutant limitations for the stream systems within the study area, including Big and Little Darby. So now we have these pollutant thresholds for different chemical pollutants, land use changes that Big and Little Darby can withstand. And from that, we help to be able to build upon that and develop protection mechanisms that we can utilize to offset those stressor thresholds, or maybe even exceed them with good land use management, stormwater management practices, and other conservation practices on the ground. So the study is actually in two phases. Phase one was completed. We now have an atlas of stressor thresholds, or a whole list of those stressor thresholds. Phase two is wrapping up now. We have drafts of phase two that we're actually reviewing in-house. Hope to release that by the end of the summer. We initially looked at 300 potential stressors as part of the analysis, and it was determined that only 100 were really critical to what we want to do in Big and Little Darby. So it was narrowed down to 100 key stressor thresholds. And like I mentioned, the stressor threshold, that's any pollutant load or land use change that is critical to the conservation of the stream, a critical threshold. Once you go beyond that point, you begin to see degradation of the stream system. You look in the table here, there's some examples of the different stressor thresholds that we used or developed. Those that are highlighted, the three that are highlighted, were the three thresholds that were used in the original Big Darby Accord analysis in Western Franklin County. That was originally completed in 2006 and adopted in 2006. So they only looked at three parameters when they developed that. We're now in the process of amending that, revising that. But we have this whole suite of other stressor thresholds that we can now rely on. And a little bit more on stressor thresholds. Basically, it's all determined by the biology, the water chemistry, habitat quality. This is Little Darby Creek in West Jefferson. It's an example of a high quality section of stream. And again, another degraded section of stream in a more urban environment. And as I mentioned, we developed 100 stressor thresholds that apply to the whole study area. So these stressor thresholds are broken out, and we have stressor thresholds for these different aquatic life use categories. So I talked about the exceptional warm water habitat use a few minutes ago. You can see there that it and the outstanding state resource water. I also mentioned they're at the top of that table, because that's the highest tier that you can have within a stream. The other layers down below are poor quality stream systems. So Darby again is in those top two little rectangles, exceptional and outstanding. And as you can imagine, the stressor thresholds doesn't seem to be working.
Could be battery.
Okay, next, please. Can you do it? Thank you. And then we also had stressor thresholds developed based on the stream size, which is based on the drainage area. So you can see the different drainage areas here going from smaller to largest. That wadeable and boatable categories, those are, so Darby, Big Darby down by Plain City at 42 Bridge, that would be wadeable. Big Darby down in Pickaway County towards the mouth for the site would be boatable. And those are just, you know, based on drainage area and the increasing size of the stream system. Next, please. So here is this is a sample table of stressor thresholds, and you can see there that some of the numbers, the outstanding state resource water, the purple column, far to the left, and the exceptional warm water habitat column, next one there, the blue to the left. So if we look at total percent imperviousness, the threshold is 2.8% impervious surface and 3.6% impervious surface. Basically what that says is that's your threshold for impervious surface that you can have in one of those high quality watersheds and still expect to maintain that high quality level of use. Now, the impervious calculations used in this is a little different from some of the others you may have seen historically. It's called fractional impervious surface. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on that explanation. We can talk about it more if you're interested. But basically, this coincides with the traditional impervious levels of maybe 9%, 10%. So it's kind of right there with all the other research and scientific documentation you may have seen in the past. So next.
This is up. This is up.
Oh, got work. Thank you very much. I think this is my last slide. Next, then Mike can come up, chat with you here. Thank you. So again, just talking about one of the, I mentioned that, you know, biological communities are used in the IPS as far as part of the analysis. One of them is based on the fish community. That is called the Index of Biological Integrity, or the IBI. So these are IBI scores for the different tiers we talked about, anti-dig tiers. And the outstanding state resource water is the purple triangles on the table. There we go. So if you want to have an exceptional warm water habitat stream, your IBI needs to be 50 or higher. The average IBI score in the Darbies is a 55. And there's many sites in the Darby that attained perfect scores of 60. That's the highest IBI score you can get. And there's only been a dozen or so sites that have scored a 60 across the state in the history of this biological monitoring efforts, and half of those have been in Darby. So again, just that little purple circle up in the corner, that tells you that's where we're at with Big and Little Darby. That's the area we're working in to try to conserve this system. Okay, so Mike, you want to take over?
Sure.
We're tag teaming this, right?
Yeah. For sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey everybody, thanks again for having us. I have been with ODNR now for like 3.5 months or so. So they hired me to help with this project. I just moved back from California and back home here to Ohio. And this was like the first thing that like I was sort of given and was like trying to understand it. So this is like, for me, it was like being in a master's level biology class. I don't know about you all, but like this is like pretty intense sort of stuff to kind of comprehend. And so for me, I tried to put this in kind of terms that made sense to me. And I like to think of this as like a story that's being told to us from Big and Little Darby Creeks. It's almost like a documentary, if you will. And Bob had mentioned that we hired MBI, and they are sort of like the authors of this documentary. They are specialized in understanding what Darby is trying to tell us.
Now, of course, the residents of Darby, all the mussels and the fish and the macroinvertebrates and so forth, they can't talk to us. But they do speak to us in a way that if we listen, we can understand what they're saying. And I like to call that just sort of like just biological signaling, if you will. So they're just being themselves. They're doing what a mussel does. They're doing what a fish does. And if we can kind of understand how they're reacting to things that are going on in the watershed, in the stream itself, we can kind of understand, hey, do you like your home? Hey, how is your, water quality? Sort of like, how is your air quality for us? That kind of stuff. And so over 45 years of this information, it was given to us, and they are giving this information. It's our job at ODNR, and then it's going to be other jobs for people who are working in different political jurisdictions who make decisions on what goes on that could impact Darby. It's up to us how we both interpret it and what we do about it. And so that to me was just sort of a way to kind of make sense to this for me, going from like what I was doing into like a master's or maybe even a PhD level sort of biology class. So I wanted to give that a little bit of analogy to you, so maybe it helps you kind of understand the way I'm thinking about it. So we'll pick up where Bob left off, and right here, if you look at the TV screens, this is actually a dashboard that is being still built by MBI. And what MBI is doing is for us, we will get trained on this and we're kind of learning as we go. This is going to be sort of like a way for people to go in and understand and kind of play with this to see what is going on in a specific area of the watershed, in order to understand sort of like, okay, well, is this a specific area that we need to be concerned about? Is this a specific area that needs to be restored and so forth? So I'll just look back here. What these provide to us here is, we're kind of looking at what Bob was talking about a little bit. There's different stretches of streams here that have different categories about kind of summarizing what's going on with the specific stream segment here. And I know that this isn't much to kind of like, I know that we're not like sort of close to Hell Branch, but I wanted to bring this up too because Hell Branch used to have a lot of mussel population, but because of a lot of the urbanization that's gone on there, the impervious surface cover, it no longer has absolutely any mussels that are still in that area of the watershed. And that's due to substantial water quality declines. And so there is going to be, there's an expert that's doing a mussel survey right now throughout the watershed, and that's going to be done sometime in the next few months, and that's going to be the most current mussel survey that we've had throughout the watershed. And that will give us even a better idea of what's going on. Mussels are a great indicator of water quality. I don't know if you know this, but a mussel can actually siphon like multiple liters of water a day, and so that's very good for water quality. Phase 2 is going to look at a couple of different things, and we have a draft of Phase 2 that's been given to us, so we're sort of going over it, synthesizing it, and giving some feedback to MBI. We're kind of getting close to a spot where we're starting to feel like maybe we'll be able to provide this to the public sometime relatively soon. But it's looking at 3 different things: threat, susceptibility, and restorability. And it's going to rank different segments of stream in one of those 3 categories. And what's great about that is instead of looking at just like a giant, aerial shot of a watershed, it's getting down into something. This is kind of nerding out into HUC 12s, which is hydrologic unit codes. So the larger of a HUC number, so it can keep getting larger, it's the smaller the area is. And when Bob was showing you a chart where it says like a boatable stream, a wadable stream, or headwaters, the smaller the HUC is, that means the smaller the drainage area. So that means that we can get more and more detailed information. And so that's why this is really cool. And there's different stressors that we'll be able to finding out for it, but what I really like about it is the different stream mileage and stream segments. So it's not just the whole hydrologic unit code, but it can break it down into smaller areas. So we know like what's impacting smaller areas, which helps us make better informed decisions about what's going on in the watershed as well. So as we're was talking about here, susceptibility rankings, the site's already in really good shape, meaning that it's meeting all the water quality criteria that we can ask for it. So what can we do to ensure that it still stays that way? So that's what a susceptibility is. So like, making sure that we keep it in its current good form. Threat means that there's sites that meet like certain standards, but there's excess stresses that are going on into it. And so there's probably just a matter of time before those would actually get into a lower category, which would be the restorability thing. Meaning, restorability ranking means it's already degraded. So what can we do to bring it back into a higher water quality threshold or a higher water quality standard? And so those are the three rankings that we'll have, and it will really be easier, or a little bit easier to kind of understand how we want to provide that information to everybody, and it'll make us collectively have better ways to make better informed choices. There's also different things. I think that like when Bob was talking about some term called FRIMP. So I want you to think about this, cumulative impacts, right? Again, let me nerd out for a second with y'all. So like, if you think about like something that impacts, let's just say like, I don't know, I'm just off the top of my head. You got a brand new car, you're driving around the road, some stones kick up on it, you got a couple of dings, you're like, oh, okay, I guess it still looks pretty good. Well, let's just say after 5 years you're driving down the road, there's all sorts of dings and scratches on it. Those cumulative impacts from the stones and scratches are going to degrade how it looks, right? So that's kind of the same thing here. So if you have like a development over here, you got one over there, you got another over there, you got one over here, all of those impervious surfaces together are going to degrade the water quality, and it's going to degrade the biological content of the watershed. So it's kind of like the same thing. I just want you to think about that. So what happens here, what happens over there, what happens over here, they're all going to have an impact collectively together on the watershed. And so that's why like bringing this up to different jurisdictions that we're going to is going to help educate everybody about what we might be able to do together in order to minimize impacts moving forward. Funding for this project, as you can see, HO Rivers Initiative, of course, ourselves here, Division of Natural Areas and Preserves, Franklin Soil Water Conservation District, Madison Soil and Water, and the Nature Conservancy all contributed to the funding of this study. For phase 2, this is, we're talking about me. So they hired me from a National Fish and Wildlife grant, and they brought me on board to assist in kind of synthesizing this and helping share this information with all the communities, and to maybe figure out what we can do in order to get some things moving forward where it's going to protect the Darby watershed. So the phase 2 modeling is almost done. I'm the full staff person, and this is important too here. I'll just go off just a little off ramp for a second. We put out an RFP, request for proposals, like maybe, I don't know, like a month, 5 weeks ago or so. And we're going to hire a consultant that is going to look at things that are above and beyond what you have to do to fulfill your stormwater permit. Impervious surfaces, rain, runoff, stormwater going into the stream, that's really what we think is degrading Darby Creek and the whole watershed, right? So what can we do that is above and beyond what the standard permit from the Ohio EPA and any local regulations, what we can do in order to minimize that impact on Darby in order to keep it at its, like excellent form right now. So that's what we're looking for from a consultant, and we put the RFP out, we got some proposals back, and we're going through the process of looking and seeing when we want to choose to do this work with us. Let's see. So I'll try to wrap up here. So what do you do with the IPS information? There's different, like I was talking about stream reaches, so it's smaller segments from that Huck 12 I was talking about. Like, how does that compare to someplace else? So the IPS is going to be able to tell us that information. This is going to also tell us what stressors are most critical on different stretches and different reaches. What is the scores for my threat susceptibility and restorability rankings? That will be done as well. And then this is what I was talking about. What tools can we create that's going to minimize the impacts at Darby Creek that we can share with all of the jurisdictions that reside within the watershed? And let's see here. And some of the benefits to the community, I think all of us have an appreciation for the Darby watershed. I mean, for everybody that's grew up here and lives out here, I mean, I like to think of it as like a relic from the past that's still like in the present, right? It's still how it was and it's now. And so it's a very weird kind of like thing because it's not normal. Like this isn't normal really anywhere in the state or the Midwest. It's literally considered one of the just this gem, this diamond in the rough. And we have a lot of opportunity if we do the right things to keep it that way for the future. So like it gives, you know, channel stability I think is really important because it's definitely ranked, it's definitely correlated to flood prevention. Having a healthy watershed means it has access to natural access to its floodplain instead of it being channelized, which helps reduce flooding downstream. That just helps out the entire watershed and all communities for that matter. Groundwater recharge is really important as well. We want to have a healthy aquifer underneath for a whole host of different reasons. Having a healthy stream also make sure that we still have a good rural character out here. There's recreation to it. We're doing a canoe float here in a couple days. I mean, it's cool to float down the Darby. It's pretty awesome. So there's just some people doing stuff. And I'll leave you with this. I know this isn't here in Jerome Township per se, but here in Union County, there was a survey done. And I kind of just want you to take a second and look at the ones that are the most important to the respondents here. And one of them was preserve rural scenic beauty, the other is preserve farmland, and the other is protect our water resources. That people here in Union County, that was the most important out of all of these ones that were asked here, which is really cool. And then there was another that was asked as well in Plain City, and when they did a comprehensive, when they were doing their comprehensive plan. And one of the key takeaways: preserve and elevate natural and recreational assets. Obviously, residents value the village landscapes, parks, and the big Darby Creek ecosystem, just like you all do. And the key takeaway is prioritize environmental conservation or park investment as a foundation of future land use. So I think that all of us are on the same page with that. And with that, I thank you. We are happy to ask or answer questions. We appreciate your time and your attention. That's cool. Yeah.
So the Target had a lot of that were in poor condition or average and poor and all that kind of stuff, right? So those particular areas, what happened to make them poor, and could that happen to the Big Darby Little Darby?
Yes. So I think if you're referring to, I'm trying to find a slide.
It was the one where you had that the Big Darby and the Little Darby were rocking and rolling, but then you had the poor and the average and
The poor quality stream systems?
yes.
Yeah, so there's a variety of impacts that different streams have been subject to throughout our history here in Ohio. For example, you got streams like the Cuyahoga River that were subject to huge amounts of industrial discharges decades ago. There's streams within this study area that have been subject to intense urbanization, and the land use has changed dramatically. The landscape may be very urban, so they're getting hit with those non-point source pollutants, the hydrologic changes associated with the accelerated runoff. There's really a whole different suite of impacts that could degrade a stream system, and some of them all have, they all have their kind of their own story, so to speak. But Darby's story is one of, it's kind of been out there and left alone, so to speak, and protected to a certain extent, and it's still in good shape.
The one graph that you may be referring to showing impervious cover, that might have been the one, this one?
This one?
That one? No, maybe not.
Wait, were we rocking and rolling before this?
try to raise awareness about the current situation faced in the Darby watershed and advocate for enhanced conservation principles and enhanced stormwater management and other techniques that will minimize or offset the impacts of the encroaching urbanization. So that's something, this is not a regulatory program. We're not coming in with any regulations whatsoever to take over and tell local communities what to do. This is all going to be up to the local communities as to whether or not they want to adopt the measures and take the initiative to protect Big and Little Darby Creeks in their area. So we're going around right now. It's kind of like a traveling road show, meeting with the local communities. We've been to Plain City, Madison County, Union County. Thank you. I'm forgetting. We're going to Darby Township, Pickaway County next week. Pickaway County Commissioner. So we're going all over. West Jefferson. We've talked to West Jefferson, and just we welcome the opportunity to work with you all in, what's going on up here in Jerome Township and the conservation of Big Darby and the other tributaries in your area. So that's what we're here to talk about and advocate for.
Appreciate you being here.
Yes.
What's going to happen next is we're going to release phase 2 of this study, and I think then we'll be rolling with that information. We're going to roll into some watershed-based planning with local communities. So I think we look forward to working with Jerome Township on that, and I think across the board.
Yes.
Is there data right now that shows that the quality of Big Darby has degraded over the last 10 or 15 years?
I think it's dependent on where.
Jerome Township area.
So the last comprehensive survey of Big Darby was done in 2014, 2012, 2014 by Ohio EPA. So we do not have a more recent data set with regard to fish, aquatic insects, water chemistry, and stream habitat. Now we're funding this mussel survey, freshwater mussel survey, that is going to hit 100 sites throughout the Darby watershed. Our researcher, Dr. Hogarth, is going to finish that up this summer. So that will be a fresh set of biological data, and that will tell us at least what that group of animals is doing and how they're faring in Big Darby. As Mike mentioned earlier, the Hell Branch, he's already completed the survey of the Hell Branch subwatershed, which is in western Franklin County on the urban fringe, and did not find any mussels, basically.
Has any study
So that's discouraging.
Has any study been started on what, because the Kyle Ditch runs into the Big Darby, on what the effects are, what the development we've already had thus far?
No, we do not have data on that particular. You said Kyle Ditch? No, we do not have data on that particular system, fresh data.
I will say this too, though, and I know you have a question. Think about everything that is on, I mean, Bob alluded to this, right? But everything that's on all of our roads and parking lots and stuff, right? Bacteria, brake fluid, gas, poop, whatever it is. I mean, it's literally on there, and when it rains, it goes into our storm sewer system, which is usually going to go to a basin, and then that's going to end up going into the stream. And so there's no buffer between that and the stream that's really helping removing a lot of those impurities, right? And so that's kind of, we're trying to think of ways to help minimize that impact. And so I think that like from a lot of the smaller streams that you're talking about, they're probably getting a huge bum rush of that and the volume of water going that they're not used to.
Yeah, I know that we're over on Warner Road where Amazon's gone and all that, it's all directly going into the Kyle Ditch, which
Yes.
goes into Big Darby.
Yes.
So the long haul of this is 15, 20 years from now, where is this going to be?
Exactly. I wish we had a crystal ball.
Well, I mean,
And it's our well water too.
Yes, that's why groundwater is really important.
as part of phase 2, and the work we're going to do with our consultant team, we're going to try to develop some methodologies and things that can be implemented on the ground to try to minimize impacts that you're talking about. So when we have all that information, we may go ahead and go around the circuit again and meet with everybody and begin talking about some of those methodologies and that information that we have when it's available.
So would you say that the ODNR is with the data centers and the exact impact of the data centers? Do you feel that you have a grasp on that, or do you feel like sort of you have lots of learn?
Bob, I think you should answer that one.
Yeah, we're still Yep. Yep, absolutely. So
Yes,
looking at
you have a question for us, please.
In your phase two, will you have like a committee of local government representatives from the watershed, or will it just be a consultant delivering recommendations that we're supposed to?
It's a great question. We will put together sort of like a committee that's going to have representation from, different parts of the watershed and some experts when it comes to like different parts of like how we see this, like stormwater experts and stuff like that, to help us kind of figure out, give us some guidance on different stuff so we can be better prepared to go and talk to elected officials in jurisdictions and people who can actually do stuff like that on the ground. I think one of the things we didn't mention, we did talk to the Madison County engineer as well, and we'll probably be doing that to a lot of the other counties and get kind of just a good way to get information. So to make a long story short, yes, we'll be creating a committee like that.
I think, Brad, one of your concerns is stakeholder involvement.
Yes.
There absolutely will be a process for that.
Yes, for sure.
We can't do it alone because it's not up to us to actually implement it. It's up to local communities to implement it.
Right, appreciate that. We're not the experts on local communities. You guys are. Yeah. Good.
Well, we certainly appreciate the work that you're doing. We look forward to phase two completion and coming back and talking with us more to help us formulate the policies that we need to do to help preserve Big Darby Creek.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and having us. We
Yes,
appreciate
thank you
it.
very much.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank
and
you.
listening to us. Thank you.
I have a few business cards. If anybody wants one.
For anybody wanting more information, do you have a site? I copied something down earlier, ohiodnr.gov/Darby study. Is that where people can go to find the information presented?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you again. All right, we're going to move along on our agenda here. We're at the approval of minutes.
Give the minutes of the regular meeting of June 16th.
Move that we waive the reading of the minutes and approve as submitted.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Watson?
Yes.
You have your warrants per your pending warrant reports. Your warrants 46692 through 46729 and 96095 through 96108.
I move that we approve the warrants.
Second?
Roll call?
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Watson?
Yes.
Yes.
Right now, next on our agenda is the public participation. I noticed that there were a few people that entered the room after the clipboard was taken up, so if you're interested in speaking, please come forward and put your name on the list here. The first name on the list is Joseph Rivera. Please come up and state your name and address.
Joseph Rivera, 7045 Kyle Road. And before you put me on the clock here,
I did want to mention, due to the number of people here, we're going to try to limit your time to 3 minutes each. So.
okay, yeah, just hear me out for a second before you put me on the clock. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 507.04, I am formally handing a physical copy of our written transcript and its accompanying evidentiary exhibits to the fiscal officer. I am directing that this entire record be accepted and filed in its entirety as a matter of permanent public record. Members of this board, as of 5 p.m. yesterday, Monday, July 6th, this township entered formal noncompliance after letting a legal public records cure notice expire under Ohio Revised Code Section 149.43. The paper trail reveals a calculated timeline of events. The blueprint began in July 2025 when Chairman Adler and our administrator signed corporate non-disclosure agreements on behalf of the township outside of any public meeting. Amazon's own representative verified this backroom arrangement in writing, stating while Brandon and Barry have already signed NDAs on behalf of the township, we are requesting individual agreements. On March 17th of this year, trustees Adler, Kraft, and Watson voted unanimously to override our zoning commission's veto to hand the Schottensteins a custom density expansion. Through that vote, You enacted a preferential zoning carve-out that protected the Schottenstein specific parcels, allowing them to maintain data center usage as an absolute permitted right. This vote hand-delivered an immediate commercial asset to a private developer to facilitate a profitable land flip directly to the national home builder D.R. Houghton. Now, to anchor this deal, you are using public funds to negotiate an unsigned master development agreement. Section 3.1 explicitly proposes that zoning within your innovation district cannot be amended without private developer approval. You are attempting to surrender our zoning sovereignty and promise absolute cooperation by contractually binding this township to deploy good faith efforts to execute everything the Schottensteins request, further violating our future OMA rights. In exchange, we get empty proposals, a non-binding best efforts land donation, giving the developers zero actual legal obligation to convey anything to this community. You have played a calculated administrative shell game, moving this contract on and off the active agenda to outweigh public attendance. And to hide this cost of this pipeline, you have executed a complete public records blockade. On June 22nd, our administrator admitted in writing at 7:24 a.m. he was collecting our requested logs, only to issue a total privilege denial exactly 169 minutes later. Then, this past Sunday, the fiscal office produced summary cover sheets tracking a staggering $250,000 in public tax dollars paid to your private law firm, while systematically stripping out every single page of the itemized narrative logs required under State Ex Rel. Anderson v. Vermillion. This cover-up is over. We have logged a formal complaint with the Ohio Auditor of State Special Investigation Unit. Tonight, the residents demand immediate action. We ask for a record-voted motion to terminate the township's relationship with legal counsel Peter Griggs and the law firm Brocious Johnson and Griggs, LLC. We also ask for a formal motion tonight to permanently table any future votes regarding these specific development zone overlays, text amendments, and Schottenstein partnerships until all outstanding public record demands are released unredacted in their entirety. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person on our public comment sign-up sheet is, I believe it's Suzanne Carpenter. Could you please come forward and state your name and address?
Hi, good evening. I'm Susan Carpenter. I'm a new resident of Durant Township. My husband and I moved into the area in late October of last year. We live in the homes right behind this area where the wooded area is. We built our home through Pulte. I'm on Horseshoe Street. The line of homes that we are around border the actual tree line, and there is a water retention pond that's in that area. At the time that we bought the home, we went into good faith a contract with the builder that they would always own the property and that the trees would never be removed. We understood after that time that we closed on the property that Pulte has sold that land to the township. So we've been having some issues with the water retention system there, as far as the algae and just the general non-upkeep of the area. We've been coordinating with the homeowners association, we've been coordinating with the builder. Since it's your property, as I understand it, from the maps that were provided online, we wanted to bring it to this board's attention that this area is not being maintained, and we have great concerns about it, not only for ourselves but for our health, because of a lot of the open areas that we think need to be inspected, some piping that's open that we think could be a hazard for children, as well as it just generally not being maintained. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I can help out very briefly with this. There was a gentleman stop by, I think it's a gentleman in the ball cap, and I apologize.
It's my husband.
Okay, your husband stopped by. He did what you told him, which was come talk to us. He talked with me yesterday. I'm aware of the situation. County Soil and Water is aware of the situation. The township is the landowner, but there's layers to this. There's easements. Pulte's still under development. They're still under some county regulations and so on. So it's not done, if that makes sense. If you could forward along those photos, and I will absolutely follow up with everybody, including Pulte, and make some progress on this. So we are aware of it.
I appreciate that very much. We just wanted it on the record on behalf of our homeowner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Sir.
Next, public comment is from David Morris. Please state your name and address.
David Morris. I live at 7255 Kyle Road. I also would like to leave a couple documents for record. One would be a letter from Jonathan Order Schools that basically talks about the overage of the schools and the amount of people that we go, and some of these developments are going crazy. And the other document is actually our comprehensive plan. And I'll kind of go over that. And I want to talk specifically to this whole idea of Schottenstein's and the area being moved. Originally, that area, and if you look at the original Jerome Township comprehensive plan, it shows the area on Kyle Road, and as you come up Kyle Road, it shows it to the left. So it specifically states, even in our comprehensive plan, this is designated as agriculture, low density, conservative residential area. And that's the way a lot of our people that live on that road. And if you look at the documentation specifically from the comprehensive plan, and this should be the vote of the people, correct? Is that why we had this in the first place? People put together their ideas of what they want our township to be like. And they also represent, hey, there's specific areas that are designated to be certain density. It was originally designed to only have one house per 2 acres. And then the comprehensive, or the overlay came into place, which moved it to 2 houses per acre. And then if you even read now under our comprehensive plan, and the reason I'm going to read this is because on March 17th, when I was in the meeting, the sole reason Barry mentioned that we were going to move it from 2 to 3 was because it agreed with the comprehensive plan. That's what I heard. I was here. So I heard that from you. So, and it says, even in the case, now Kyle Road does not have water, doesn't have utilities, okay? So even in the best case scenario where centralized water, sewer, and extended into the agricultural low density conservative area, which we live in, is developed under a plan development tool, the development plan tool should be utilized, and it says a maximum residential density of 2 dwellings per acre is encouraged with at least 40% open space. So they're saying the maximum residential density is 2. So this is the comprehensive plan. This is the people speaking. City schools, Jonathan Alder came to the meeting also, said they did encourage to keep the density as low as possible. And then your own zoning commission said no when it was presented to them. They came before, everyone voted at that meeting to keep it at 2. They went along with the comprehensive plan. So how now we can be changing it to 3, I have no idea, and maybe we can get an answer of why we would ever be moving it to 3, especially when we've already talked about this whole area being, part of watersheds. In fact, the Ohio Department of Resources said that Kyle Road is a part of the wetlands. So why would we all of a sudden try to build a bunch of houses to create more flooding in that area? It makes 0 sense to me either, or any of the other residents, which you can ask. So thank you very much, and do you have any questions for me?
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you for hearing me.
Next on our list is, I think it says Laura Darwin, if I'm not mistaken. Can you come up forward and state your name and address?
Hi, I'm Laura Darwin. I live at 7289 Kyle Road. I've come to understand some of the stuff that JR has been putting forward, and it's a little disturbing to me that, we're being overtaken by some other entity and not our own township or builder or whoever. Okay, so I got sort of an issue with that, but I also agree with David saying, listen, it's a comprehensive plan, and how the heck did we get to where we are now? How's that happen? So we all are real gun shy here with you guys as far as what's really going on here. So, and we're watching, and I guess not in a bad way, But we got to pay attention. And so we are. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next, I believe it's Dana Milligan.
You told me to put your name on there.
Pass by first.
Next name on the list here is Scott Russell. Please come up and state your name and address.
Yeah, hi, my name's Scott Russell, I live at 7135 Kyle Road. For the record, I'm a resident of Jerome Township pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 507.04. I'm formally submitting this administrative statement regarding public safety operations and the Operating Meeting Act to the fiscal officer to be filed in its entirety as a matter of permanent public record. Members of this board, I'm standing here to address a profound procedural failure concerning the administrative transparency of our public safety operations. We hold the official signed records from your Saturday morning special session on May the 2nd, 2026. The timeline on this document reveals it's a calculated constructive lockdown of a public meeting used to completely insulate a high-stakes public safety decision from a constituent observation. According to your own record, this special meeting was called to order at 8:10 a.m. Exactly 2 minutes later, at 8:12 a.m., Chairman Alder introduced a motion, seconded by Trustee Kraft, to immediately lock the public out of the room by entering into an executive session. This board remained locked behind the doors for 105 minutes, emerging at 9:57 a.m. to instantly read a resolution placing Fire Chief Douglas Stewart on paid administrative leave. You then completely adjourned and left the building at 9:59 a.m. Out of a total of 109 operational minutes that morning, this board spent 105 minutes in secret. You provide exactly 4 minutes of open door to the public who funds your seats. While Revised Code 121.22 allows an executive session to evaluate personnel, Ohio Supreme Court precedence dictates that the public body cannot use private executive sessions to orchestrate, deliberate, or prearrange a public policy rollout while using open doors as a mere 4-minute rubber stamp to bypass community input. Under Ohio Revised Code 121.22, any official action adopted under a procedurally deficient session is statutorily invalid and void. Let this serve as a formal, stern warning to this board and Chairman Alder directly. The procedural manipulation of public meeting dockets to isolate high-stakes administrative decisions from constituent oversight represents a direct violation of public trust. We demand that any trailing administrative reviews or updates regarding public safety infrastructure burdens be conducted with full, open floor discussions and complete adherence to the statutory transparency law of the state of Ohio. Thank you.
That's all that we've got signed up for public comments. We're going to move along to the administrative report. Mr. Stanley is not present this evening, so I've got a statement here that I need to read, and then we will go into some specifics. Under the Township Administrator's report, we've had a submission by the Township Administrator, of statement of charges regarding Fire Chief Douglas Stewart and setting a date for hearing on the charges. We'll discuss that under new business in terms of setting a date. A copy of the letter here that was submitted by Township Administrator Stanley. Let me backtrack for a minute. I passed over the public safety officer on the agenda. who would like to come forward at this time, and then we'll get back to the administrator's report. Sorry for the oversight.
Good evening. Here's some stat sheets. Now, the stat forms that passing out for review, they're from 2023 to June 30th, 2026. And it just kind of gives a comparison of our calls for service for our sheriff's office for every township, to include your guys's, so you can see how you line up versus other townships. One of the noticeable things that you will see, a lot of it's increasing, but in the upper portion, the number of crash reports that we've taken over the last couple of years has dropped significantly. It's not because we're not having crashes in the county, it's because they're being referred to the state patrol and giving them the opportunity to respond first. State patrol is designed to work traffic and crashes, so I figure if they can do the crash reports and be tied up for an hour or two, that allows our deputies to be out in the townships where they belong for our citizens. So we will continue to work that way. As far as an update from the sheriff's office, we're going to be at the following events, public events coming up in the near future. July 16th through the 18th is the Plain City Steam Threshers. Union County Fair is July 26th through August the 1st. National Night Out is August the 4th. We will be down at Depp and Eversole on August 4th that evening. We'll be grilling hot dogs, and we have a bounce houses and dunk machines for the kids and families. And then August 21st and 22nd is the All Ohio Balloon Festival, and it's under new management. As far as our office, we had one that graduated from the State Patrol Academy last week. We're just waiting on him to take his state test, and he would begin his training. We had a gentleman from Columbus, Georgia. He was a police officer down there. He took the state test up here, and he's been able to transfer his law enforcement certificates to Ohio, and he started yesterday for us. We had one that took a polygraph today. As long as he passes the polygraph, he'll be sent to occupational health for a medical review and be given a job. We have two in training and one in background. And last Thursday, we had our initial accreditation hearing at the office from the Ohio Collaborative. It's a process that the state of Ohio comes in and accredits us and takes a look at our policies and procedures, and we're following them. And by all means, it sounded like it was the easiest inspection they had, and we should hear the final outcome as of next month. The last thing I have is our contract with the Dublin City Schools expires at the end of this month, and it's supposed to be renewed for this upcoming school year. In the past, Dublin City Schools paid 50% of the deputy salary. Durham Township paid 25%, and the commissioners paid 25%. So Dublin City Schools, from what I understand, is on board with that same agreement, and we're going to vote on it Thursday. So are you guys still interested in the 25% covering the SRO salary for the Eversole schools?
I think we are, and I think that's part of our original contract with you.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that, you know, the contract's being renewed. I wasn't going to take anything without asking. So if Dublin passes it, I'll let you guys know, because I'll need to get signatures. But I'll be meeting with the commissioners tomorrow morning, and I'll renew their commitment also. So, any questions for me?
Mr. Chair, may I say something to Sheriff? Sheriff, I just wanted to let you know that my office always collects fees for zoning applications upon application. We had someone recently who was a variance application, and they were represented by the Ufinger Law Offices, contacted us the last couple days with an invoice on township letterhead and my signature. It's one of these internet scams trying to bilk them out of a whole bunch of money. I talked with Mr. Gray and responded to the applicant, which was basically tell your attorney to contact your office. So just for the record, any fees from my office doesn't send invoices for after hearings and that sort of thing. It's due at the time of application. I was a little concerned to see my name down at the bottom of some thousands of dollars worth of fees that was sent to this poor lady.
So if you would, if I can get a copy of that or
I can
an
give you
email
before you leave.
with that, that'd be great. 'Cause,
Yes, sir.
our sheriff's app that we have, we constantly update it, but one of the features that we updated on that sheriff's app this year was a scam section. So we can add that in there as an alert for anyone that has our sheriff's app, and we can add that in as part of the new scam that we're seeing. So
I'll send that over to you, sir.
okay,
I
perfect.
think you also want to mention that we do not ask for payment by wireless transfers.
Correct. Fees are due at the, there's a written policy adopted by this board that restricts me, my office, on how we operate, along with the laws and rules that Robert is bound by. And yes, fees are due at the time of application. We would never ask for wireless transfers, credit cards, that sort of thing. I'd be happy to provide that to you.
If you would, because that's like Saturday, I was coming back from a trip out to Chicago, and back that day, picked up a vehicle for my son, and I got a call from a resident of Marysville where her sister was on the phone with someone that didn't want her to hang up, but she needed to post a bond because she missed jury duty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't do that, so.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe.
When Mr. Snowden shared that with me was the requested payment by wire transfer.
Wire transfer, or green cards, or green
Gift
dot
cards.
gift cards, never, as far as gift cards, never.
Thank you.
I'll be back
Thank
if
you.
any of you guys have any questions.
Thank you.
Let's get back to the administrator report, and I have a statement here I was supposed to read, which I didn't first hear, but the Board of Trustees recognizes and acknowledges the receipt of the statement of charges dated June 15th, 2026, submitted by the Township Administrator regarding Fire Chief Stewart. It is the understanding of the Board that the statement of charges were served on Fire Chief Stewart by the Township Administrator. We will be setting a hearing date and a time under new business. I have some additional reports that were submitted to me by the various departments, and with Mr. Stanley not being here, I'm going to try to run through these fairly quickly, but there are extensive reports. But, from the fire department, we had a building fires. They responded to several working fires in the past month in the district, as well as with mutual aid partners. Closed doors make a difference. There was one house that apparently had the act of closing doors limited the fire and smoke damage and increased survivability to occupants. Engine 210 was involved in a crash and is out of service. There are no injuries. Reserve engine is in place. We're working with our insurance to expedite the repair. Ladder 210, the training is scheduled for July and August. That's our ladder truck. Equipment needs are a work in progress. Anticipated in-service date is not until September. The new Ohio Fire Code, future adoption, looking at August or September meetings to approve a resolution adopting the 2025 Ohio Fire Code, as well as the EV charging regulations. Additional monthly statistics are attached and will be made available if anybody wants to see those. No special notations on that. Got a road department report here. They've replaced the battery on the F-350 truck, replaced leaf springs on the same truck. West Jeff Plumbing has replaced the backflow device in the Township Hall. We did ditch mowing on the rural routes. The Union County grader patch is in prep for tar and chip on Hickory Ridge and Ketch Roads. And we're in training still for the Dura patcher. In the parks, we're trimming trees, waiting for a new quote. We've had a problem with the overflow from our pond, if you noticed, during the heavy rains the past couple weeks. the lower bridge here was overridden. So we've had a overflow pipe that is no longer functioning correctly. So we're getting bids in on that. In the cemetery, they Durapatched Jerome Cemetery driveway. They placed 3 veterans markers, one in the New California Cemetery, 2 in the Jerome Cemetery. They poured 4 foundations in the Jerome Cemetery. They had 1 cremation burial in the Jerome Cemetery and 2 standard burials in the Jerome Cemetery. They completed 1 veterans marker and completed 8 foundations. That's the road department report. Building department, Mr. Snowden, would you like to?
Very briefly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very briefly, the permit statistics through June were sent out to all of the relevant agencies, following up on what Chief French said about the Ohio Fire Code adoption. Mr. Gray is reviewing a resolution and related paperwork for that. I was assisting fire prevention just with some of the paperwork, so they'll be coming forward. I'm sure he's included in that session. So happy to answer any other questions.
Any other questions? Interesting. Thank you, Mr. Snowden. Under old business, we've got a package here that was submitted to the trustees from WSA. I might make mention too, I guess I should mention under the administrator's report that we are proceeding with work with another firm called MSA regarding the fire stations feasibility study. So that is progressing, but we are further along with the WSA at this point. We have a design package and revised plan estimate. I don't know if Mr. Caldwell, did you have some comment at all? They provided some budget estimates in here.
Yeah. I provided you both design package number 4 and number 3, just so you could see some of the changes. My recommendation, I think WSA is doing a great job. They've come up with some really good ideas in regards to the event space out in the garage, creating garage doors and opening up to a patio facing the garage, which I think would be great for renters and those who want to use the hall. It'll increase the size of the space we currently have now. So we've had some really good ideas. However, I do think they're maybe getting too many ideas from too many people, because our estimate went from 900,000 to 1.2 million to 1.7 million and 1.9 million. Now we're at 2.2 million. So maybe a little too aggressive at that point. So I would recommend a work session to go through it, looking at needs versus wants. I know that one of my identified needs was expansion of the kitchen area. I am here on the weekends when the renters are here. They do have to put tables outside of the kitchen area, and the kitchen area is very crowded because they do potluck. So the option 1, is it option 1? Yes, option 1 in package 4, which has been pretty consistent, while the kitchen area is expanded some, it also has a staging area out in front of it to allow for them to put out, buffet type of things, or to prepare some of the meals. They bring in crock pots and things of that sort. So I'd like to see that retained, whereas that is not in option 2 of package number 4. I think perhaps a work session, including the employees, since they're the ones here 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, to give their input as to what design works and what design doesn't work. I know one of the big contentions is the shared refrigerator, that they have to clean out the refrigerator completely before the weekend because the renters are using it, and that's just a little bit of a hassle for them.
Well, I know the new options have separate refrigerators in the office area versus the event area.
Yes. Those are various things of just how, yes, there are 2, but where do they go?
Do we need to have a motion to work session, or is that something?
Well-
It's just a special meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, if
I think
with
maybe
them
we
all
might wanna
interested
look-
parties together in an hour, you could, because through this process, we found out, well, no, that doesn't work because you have to have this many bathrooms for this many square feet, so they can answer technical questions. We did get past the obstacle of having the mezzanine, we did get approval. Okay, we think we
Still waiting for final state
Okay.
approval. We got local.
yeah, okay.
Mr. Caldwell, the department heads did meet with them once and do that. I think Mr. Adler was there. It might be, it sounds, what I'm hearing is maybe a WSA needs to meet with the board. Is that what, and the big cost factor was whether you did that addition or not. That was the factor, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, option 2 and package 4 has some significant changes from option 1.
Right.
So what were those driven by? And it significantly increased the cost by about $250,000. So are those changes necessary? As we're getting over that $2 million mark, we're getting into an area of, maybe we can't afford this.
Right.
So are we agreed then we'll need to try to call a special meeting to have the trustees in attendance? I would suggest, since Mr. Stanley is not here, that you and Mr. Stanley try to
We
coordinate
can
that.
coordinate it, yes.
So there's no action taken on the proposals at this point.
Just, familiarize yourself with them, identify things you like, things you don't like. They did change the access to the mezzanine from being out in the open space from inside here, which is great because then you don't have to worry about people climbing a fence, chain, or whatever, and going up the stairs.
And they thought that change would make it more palatable to the state to approve.
Yeah. Okay?
Okay, so you're going to coordinate with Mr. Stanley on that?
Yes.
The next item under old business is the school compensation agreement. Is that something you have to ready to present to us?
Sure. So I gave you a little packet. It's the one with the blue and yellow colors on the front. That is the summary of the current TIFs within the township. And I just wanted to explain because there seemed to be a little bit of confusion. So specifically what we're looking at is a compensation agreement for Jonathan Alder. There are basically 3 types of TIFs. There's the 75% 10-year TIF, which does not need school approval because they get to keep 25% of their tax revenue. There's then the 30-year 100% TIF, which could be a school TIF or a non-school TIF. A school TIF means that the school does not oppose it, and therefore they understand that they're losing all of their tax revenue to the TIF. Non-school TIF is when they do oppose it, and the school is allowed to get their tax revenue, and the TIF gets the remainder from, the other political subdivisions. In the specific one we're talking about, the JTID TIF and Jonathan Alder, which is highlighted in the middle in blue there, which the property of FedEx falls into, and is the one that we are currently collecting current tax revenue and clawback from previous years. Jonathan Alder did not oppose it, but because they did not oppose it, the trustees back in 2020 did a commitment to the schools to work with them to try to make them whole. That's what the school compensation agreement is. The compensation agreement says that the township will make them whole by taking tax revenue that we've received in the TIF from the county auditor and giving it back to the schools based upon calculations provided to us by the county auditor. Through conversations with legal counsel on Monday, this compensation agreement becomes effective when it's passed, but can be applied retroactively if the board so chooses. It was also indicated that because of the development agreement signed with Union County and the Union County engineer, that this property, the FedEx property, falls within bounds of the cooperative group. So, with all that being said, the decision from this board is, do they want to, are they ready to pass the compensation agreement? And the second question is, has the cooperative board weighed in on this? They also approve the signing of this compensation agreement, knowing that the revenue received from that particular property will significantly decrease in the TIF. So for example, the first half settlement of 2026 was 900,000 and change. Probably a good 75 to 80% of that will go back to the school. So that affects the development agreement where a priority level was set of how the funds were going to be used for Hootchard Road development. So I think it's important that the cooperative group has weighed in on the trustees both approving this and if they wish to make it retroactive.
I think that this is a two-step thing from my understanding. The first step is we have to approve this compensation agreement because we did pass a resolution, and this is just filing the paperwork with the state based on that resolution.
People keep talking about a resolution and a previous agreement that was agreed to but never signed. I do not have record of any such agreement. I have never seen such agreement. Nobody has provided such an agreement, and there is no resolution. So
there was a resolution in 2023, the non-school TIF.
That is for the blanket area.
Amended TIF.
Yes, but that is not a compensation agreement. You agreed to amend the TIF beginning in the 11th year through the 30th year to be a 100%, but Jonathan Alder did not oppose that. Therefore, it is a school TIF, and they do not get any money unless you pass a compensation agreement, which has never been done.
The intent at the time, though, my recollection of this is that there was verbal understanding with the schools that there would be a non-school.
Okay, that's fine.
TIF. And that's why we need to follow up on that commitment by passing this compensation.
Like you just said, that was a verbal commitment. Now
Did
you
you
have
verbally agree, Barry?
But
or
since
did the
that
board
time,
verbally agree, or what
in
do you recollect?
2024, you entered a development agreement with the county that said the cooperative board, cooperative group has a say in this also.
They have a say in the extent that the prioritization of where the funds go back through the cooperative board. That was part of the agreement with the cooperative.
That is part of the development agreement, but according to legal, they also have stake into how the money is spent, and giving most of it back to the schools is how the money is spent.
My understanding from attending the cooperative board meeting in your absence this last time is that the county is agreeable with the compensation agreement, but the question is between how retroactive it will be, and they wanted to look at some additional numbers on that.
Okay.
So that's why I feel like it's important. Our first step is to pass the compensation agreement, and we can reevaluate the when the effective amendment date was, if it retroactively goes back.
Yes. Yes, and that is perfectly fine. I did ask for a updated copy because there are a couple blanks in this one I highlighted in red for resolution numbers. I did not receive that as of 5 o'clock today.
You know, Barry, this has been, this has been years in the making. You know, another meeting is not gonna, like, I can't remember when the next cooperative board meeting is, but I know we've got one in July.
July 23rd.
Is that correct, Mr. Gray?
I'd have to check my calendar, but that sounds about right.
I've got 11 a.m., July 23rd. And it's gonna be at the county, is what the email says. It's at the county building, not here.
Yes. So what's your recommendation this time, Mr. Falk?
You know, the board did make a both verbal and resolution commitment to the schools to make them whole based upon the fact that they didn't object to the amendment to the 30-year 100%. So I think it's fine that the board memorialize that commitment by passing the resolution. I think the resolution's on the front there to enter into that compensation agreement with them. But then I think follow up at the July meeting with the cooperative board to hash out when do you want this to be, if you want this to be effective retroactively. Right now it would be effective for the second half of 2026 collection forward.
That sounds agreeable to me at this point, so then I'm going to propose a motion, resolution ratifying the execution of
Who wrote the resolution? Again, Barry. Who wrote the resolution?
Booker and Grayton wrote the resolution.
And that's in this packet here that you've got in front of you.
I've got it in front of me.
The resolution ratifying the execution of the school district compensation agreement by and among Drum Township, the Board of Education of the Jonathan Oliver Local School District, and Tolles Career and Technical Center, as detailed in the packet that we have in front of us. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Krabs?
Yes.
Mr. Edward?
Yes.
Ms. Watson?
Yes.
I will work on getting you a clean copy
Okay, we need to sign.
for signatures.
You want to sign that now, or?
No, I'll get.
He said make it clean copy.
Okay. Okay, and then Mr. Kraft, you're going to follow up with the co-op board and the disposition of the 2 years of, after, between when the amendment was made and the original agreement was made in terms of how we're going to handle the non-school portion of that. So we're going to get a report back on that till the August 4th meeting from you. Okay, good?
Yep.
Let's move on then, the police protection levy.
Okay.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes, per the last board meeting, I requested some resolutions from the prosecuting attorney, and Thane was gracious enough to help us out with that. There was a little confusion in my interpretation of Joe's request, so I'd initially requested a resolution of necessity for renewal of the existing 1.2 mil levy, and then one for the existing 1.2 mil levy with a 0.1 mil increase, thinking you wanted to see how much an additional mil cost, a tenth of a mil would cost, and multiply that by 1, 2, 3, or 4 if you wanted to. But I think the resolution was for a 1 mil levy, not a 0.1 mil increase. So I had him do that also. So this is the resolution that goes to the county auditor for certification of the amount to be collected. So the board needs to decide, do they want to send her one of these, all of these? What is the board's wish as far as receiving certification numbers? Noting that we are a little bit in a crunch, that this has to be filed by the 1st of August with the Board of Elections, so we would have to take actions to proceed at the next meeting, which is the 21st, unless we have a special meeting.
Do you meet on the 4th of August?
Yes.
Yes,
Technically,
we got it that day.
I think you're, I gotta check where you.
90 days before.
I think actually you could do it then, because I think the deadline is the 5th
Okay.
of submitting. I typically don't recommend cutting it that close, but
Depends on how quickly we can get the auditor's numbers back. She can get us
She
the auditor
is back in
runs those
town.
numbers
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
She is back in town now, so she would get those back to us.
Well, if it comes down to Joe, did you want to go with the original request for 1 mil?
Did you get anything back from the auditor's office, or you were confused as to what to ask for?
Yes, so we have three.
That a resolution for 1.2 with a tenth of a mil increase, renew 1.2 with a tenth of a mil increase. We have a resolution for a straight renewal of the 1.2. And you also have a resolution for an additional 1 mil. Since I'm
Then
here.
you can, yeah.
If
Proper
you've
new
got
order, yeah.
some other variation that you want, I'm here, I've got the computer, I'm sure we could manage to print it, so tell me what you would like, if you want something different or additional. And while I don't think I'll get in too much trouble with the auditor, for her to do various iterations of the estimates, I don't think is too much of a burden.
And I figured with the 1 or the 1/10, you can add, you can multiply or divide to
Yeah.
come up with the.
That'll work. I was just, instead of doing the renewal with the 0.2 on there, if we just did a 1 by itself, that's what I was thinking. Like without, I didn't know what the rollback, or how that would be affected.
Yeah, so
or
if you did a
leaving
new,
money
you
on the
would-
table with
you
that.
would lose the state credits.
Okay.
The taxpayer would lose.
So
the
if we
state
asked what the 1.2 by itself would be, and then we asked what 0.1 would be, that would answer our question.
credit. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you don't have a 0.1. If you do one, I haven't done one yet.
I think we should just go with the 1 mil as you suggested in the first place. I thought that was what you were proposing, was the renewal plus an additional mil to get the number on that, but apparently that's not what you were proposing.
Just
But I think based on the fact that
less.
Robert says we'll be losing, what was it, the state
The taxpayer would be losing the state credit.
credit, we probably don't want to do that, taxpayers. So I think though, because of projected expenses moving forward, and there's been some requests for potentially adding another officer, that maybe we should look at the renewal plus 1 mil, and we can always scale that back at our next meeting. But if we need those numbers, I think.
Well, okay, and we can work with that, but you need to keep in mind in terms of the sequence of what you have to submit paperwork to the Board of Elections, that you have to have a resolution of necessity for whatever you want to put on the ballot. You need an estimate of revenue for that amount, and then the resolution to proceed. So if you ask for the estimate of revenue on the straight renewal of 1.2, and also ask for an estimate of renewal of a new 1 mil, you can then slice and dice those numbers however you want, but the only thing that you're going to be in position to put onto the levy is a 1.2 and/or the 1. You can't then ask me to do a resolution to proceed on renewing the 1.2 and with an increase of 3/10 of a mil.
But if we're asking for the auditor to project 1.25, which is the renewal, plus 1 mil, and we pare back the plus 1 mil,
You have to do a new resolution of necessity for that amount. Whatever amount you want to put on the ballot, you have to have made a resolution of necessity for that amount.
that resolution of necessity come at our next meeting, or does the auditor have to come back and give us new
No,
numbers?
you can do another resolution of necessity at your next meeting.
Okay.
You'll then need to get a new estimate of revenue, and then you'll need to do the resolution to proceed, which would push you out to the 4th of August meeting, unless you do a special.
So we're running out of time because one needs to be done, then the other one. And I say the 1.2 plus 0.1, like what Robert said, and then just what would a 1.2 renewal look like So we have those two things. There's no way I'm gonna add a mill onto what we were existing collecting, because that'd be like $860,000, and I don't think we're gonna need that. But 0.1 mill might be like $80,000, and along with where it's at collecting currently, I think that would probably make us comfortable to add what we want to add, what we think needs added.
And do we need to meet with the sheriff to determine the necessity to get some numbers from them projected?
Well, I think it's a little too late for that. We did talk about it in previous meetings. He did speak about maybe looking at the COPS grant program, but that's not something that's going to happen before November. So you have various options. You could choose not to run it in November and wait until next May, but having as many chances in the ballot as possible is probably better.
Do you know what Mill Creek is planning to do? Are they just gonna-
They are putting theirs on for November, I believe the sheriff said.
Sure, just, do you know what Mill Creek's plan is?
I
Just
believe
a
the
straight
last
renewal?
meeting I went to, they plan on putting it back on in November.
With a
I haven't
straight renewal?
talked with Mill Creek, but that doesn't mean that they haven't talked with Ms. Hobbs.
But you wouldn't know if it was just a straight renewal, or did they add anything else?
I don't know.
Well, I'm agreeing with what Joe's suggesting, is that we go for the two estimates of the 1.25 renewal and the 1.25 with a 0.1 mil.
You're saying you've got a 1.2
Isn't that a
plus
1.2?
tenth of a mil.
No.
There's no 1.25 floating around.
So there's a 1.2 renewal.
We're going to get 1.25.
I don't know. And a 1.2 renewal with a 0.1 increase. Is that?
Two separate
Yeah.
requests from your county.
Yes.
I'd like to move as just defined by Mr. Caldwell, we would see with those two requests from the auditor.
Second,
Roll call.
Mr. Kraft?
yes.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Watson?
Yes.
So I have 2 pages that need to be signed. Do that.
Short pause here to sign everything before we move on.
Yeah, I meant to make copies, but I didn't.
Better not wait till the 4th, the whole sheriff, you would take it on your way up.
I'll probably send these to Andrea tomorrow, so.
Let us know.
I didn't write down a second.
I can fill all that in.
Two separate pages to sign.
Yes, you did. Yeah, no, that's an old one.
Did I get it right? Yeah. Check those, make sure I got it.
1.2. Increase signature page, yep.
Okay, well, let's move along to new business. And item A is to set a public hearing for a personnel matter for the next regular meeting. The Board of Trustees are required to conduct a hearing if requested by the employee at the next regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, which is July 21st, 2026. To provide additional time to conduct the hearing on July 21st, I move that the board will schedule the meeting to begin at 6 p.m. instead of the regular time of 7 p.m. The hearing will commence at 7 p.m. following the regular agenda items. The location of the meeting will be here at the Township Hall, 977 Industrial Parkway, Plain City, Ohio 43064. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Watson?
Yes.
Furthermore, the fiscal officer is directed to provide public notice of the change of time for the regular meeting. The township administrator is directed to notify the employee and his representative of the date, time, and location for the hearing. And to facilitate the orderly conduct of the hearing, should the hearing be requested by the employee, I move that the board authorizes the board chair to act on behalf of the Board of Township Trustees to issue subpoenas for witnesses and the production of documents in connection with the hearing as authorized by Ohio law. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Watson?
Yes.
At this time, it is not appropriate for any of the Board of Trustees, Township Administrator, or any township staff to discuss matters involving personnel matters. Next on our new business list is the authorization of a part-time seasonal worker. Mr. Coleman, do you have that information?
Yes. The township administrator, along with road department supervisor, met with the Jaden Campbell and wish to offer him a position as part-time seasonal employee of the road department, provided he passes a successful background check.
I move that we go ahead and accept that.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Watson?
Yes.
Okay, I've got some announcements to make. To get updates on road projects in the township, please visit our website to get updates on ODOT projects, including State Route 42 and Industrial Parkway. Click the link on our website or visit the ODOT website, District 6. I might add to this notation here that we did have a communication from ODOT last week that they're finally getting the cable companies to work on that, and hopefully by the end of this week, they may be able to proceed again. But I didn't get an update as promised today, so we'll wait and see what happens. But once they complete the moving of the fiber cables, this road closure may happen again to the north. So just be aware that it's possible that that could happen before our next meeting. If you would like to receive notifications regarding the Board of Trustees meetings, please email the Township office at jerometownship@jerometownship.com. Township is always accepting applications for positions on our zoning boards. Please visit the Jerome Township website to fill out an application. And if I can find my paper here. The time is 8:42 p.m. I move to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1 for the purpose of considering the discipline of a public employee, and also Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G8 for the purpose of considering confidential information related to the marketing plans, specific business strategy, and trade secrets of an applicant for economic development assistance that is to be provided or administered pursuant to sections 3735.65 to 3735.70 and section 5709.73 of the Ohio Revised Code. It involves public infrastructure improvements directly related to an economic development project. The executive session is necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the proposed economic development project. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Watson?
Yes.
We're now going into executive Robert, wait, we gotta do this over for
Yeah.
live stream, sorry.
You didn't have it on.
I didn't hit the right button. Now we're back on to live stream. My apologies. We need to make a motion to, we made a motion to adjourn the executive session at 10:37 p.m. That was unanimously decided, and then we made a motion to adjourn the meeting also at 10:37 p.m. And this is for the record for the YouTube. So my apologies for not hitting the right button to get this recorded properly, but now it's part of the live stream. So thank you.